Are you ready, podcast? Time to demonstrate. Rachelle Logan, the etiquette queen, teaching us all how to thrive in the scene. Etiquette queen, she's on the scene, professional development.
Greetings. I am your host, Lady Rachelle of the Are You Ready show on WDRB Media. Welcome. On today's show, I will discuss a really big problem we are having in society today: the impact of social media and athletes. Join me so we can have a lively discussion on how to handle this important problem in our society. Now, let me start with what social media is. This definition is from several definitions online, and I just sort of put a lot of things together, but it all is the same. Social media refers to a variety of web-based and app-based technologies that enable users to create and share content, engage in social interactions, and build virtual communities. All that means is that there are various ways for us to share or watch other people's content. That's it. I know we all have social media in some form, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, which is the old Twitter, or Truth Social. And I'm sure there are some social media platforms that I don't even know about. There are also online podcasts that discuss daily events, and there are thousands, if not millions, of people that only listen to podcasts every day. I have listened to a few podcasts, and I know there are lots of them around for all kinds of audiences. But whatever floats your boat as to where you get your information and news, I'm old-fashioned and still watch TV for my news. I guess until TV stops showing news, I'll stick to it for now. Social media is one form of communication that most people talk about. I teach online social media classes in my Rachelle Logan Media business. I am really surprised that most of my student athletes really don't understand how social media impacts them. They feel like when they post their stuff, it's their personal business, and I'm using air quotes right now to signify their personal business. People don't realize that whatever is on their social media sites that they consider personal is also looking to their personal business. More air quotes. I try to get my student athletes, especially the younger ones, to understand that there is good and there is bad when it comes to social media. Whether the athlete is on an AAU team or a high school team, social media can hurt your future in sports as well as it can help you. Well, it's that time to pay the bills. We're going to take a short break. After the break, I will have a special guest on to discuss how social media can affect you as a D1 athlete. Don't go anywhere. Lady Rachelle will be right back on WDRB Media, where you can listen live 24/7 for double the information and inspiration. Welcome back to the Are You Ready show. I'm your host, Lady Rachelle. I will continue now with the impact of social media and athletes. Remember to visit my website at RachelleLoganMedia.com. She played high school basketball and was nationally ranked in the top 5 in the country, and she played college basketball on a D1 full scholarship. I brought her on today to help me discuss the issue of social media and athletes. I played high school sports, and there was nothing but the newspaper articles about us. I guess that tells you how old I am. When I ran track in college, there was a school newspaper and an occasional local newspaper article. We did not have social media back then, and there was no way to share the news with others. We had to just call them on the telephone and tell them, hey, we did good. Now, welcome, Diana.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Okay, we're going to have a discussion on social media and how it affects athletes.
Yes.
When you were in high school, did you pay attention to the articles in the newspaper about high school athletes?
Honestly, I would say I paid attention to the interviews and articles that I was a part of. But if I'm being completely honest, I didn't really read a lot of the articles that were on other athletes, if I'm being honest.
Right. Well, I guess you had to go out and buy the newspaper
Right.
And then you had to, wait until the following day, or some local newspapers were every week, every Wednesday. So most of the time, the news is old and really nobody cares, but at least they did try to cover you. Now, when you got to college, did you pay any attention to social media or the news articles when you were in college?
So as a millennial, social media was definitely a part of college. However, it definitely wasn't as prominent, I would say, as it is today. A lot of us already had, our own personal channels. Facebook was really big when I was in college. Instagram was really big. Twitter was not as big, and TikTok wasn't even in existence yet. So we didn't really have a lot of options with our social media yet. But it was pretty much just used to keep in touch with friends. I don't really think a lot of people were going viral. Definitely not on my team. Probably at the bigger schools, but it's definitely not used as it is today. It was just more of a conversational type of thing.
Did you have MySpace? Is that what you started
I
out with?
had MySpace, but that was back in middle school for me.
Right, because as your mother, I did not really allow you to have social media. And so MySpace was very, very safe and at the time. And
Yeah, let's get into that. So yeah, I grew up with a mother that felt social media could cause more harm than good, especially when it first came out. There really were no rules. There still aren't a lot of rules surrounding social media. So I personally did not get any social media until I would say
after college.
Yeah, college really. I didn't get an Instagram until college.
Right. The last part of your college years on top of that.
Right. The MySpace page that I had was very elementary, I'll say.
Right.
I liked the fact that you could add music to your page. So I spent most of my time trying to figure out what song I wanted to put on it each week, which was fun. So I definitely wasn't using MySpace in the way that others were that impacted them negatively. But yeah, so I mean, I think that not having social media for a majority of my childhood, it definitely protected me in many ways. It allowed my image to stay clean, at least on the internet, so that when I grew up and I wanted to go into college, or I wanted to get recruited, or even after that getting a job, I pretty much had a clean slate from my history of not having a lot of social media.
I guess because my job in the Navy was media training, and I was part of the team that wrote the instructions for the Navy on how social media can hurt our military personnel. So I took that information and passed it on to you, so that you did not get involved in situations that something that you posted when you were 12 was going to affect you when you got to high school and college. Unfortunately, a lot of people didn't heed to those warnings about things that they post when they were young could come back. Now, when did social media make a difference to you, though?
Social media definitely made a difference when I was in college, I would say, or probably after that. I mean, if I'm being completely honest, social media is really the balance of a crazy world and something that brings kind of levity to my life. So, I mean, I use social media to just relax at the end of the day at this point. I'm not exactly an influencer or anything. It's not my source of income, so I'm not using it and getting really stressed out about it. It's definitely something that I just use to relax. But I do see that there's also an increased potential to make a lot of money. I mean, many people are using social media as their first source of income, and they're doing very well in life. So of course, I've explored some of my personal hobbies, seeing how I can add that to social media. Obviously, I have an art business called Color Creations by Dilo. You can follow me on TikTok and Instagram, where I post, a lot of my art that I do and a lot of the creations that I make. So that's fun. I have gotten, some sales from that. So just having that as a side hobby is very useful.
Now, we have March Madness going on right now.
Yes, we do.
We both are ball heads or ball gym halls, whatever they call them. We watch basketball a lot. Social media has changed so much since you graduated from college. And even in the last 2 years with the women's sports, your school had an amazing lacrosse team.
Yes.
So some of these smaller colleges were making headways and headlines in the media in a positive way. Now we have the NIL. Now we have college students making millions of dollars. Now we have college players all on social media. What do you think that will lead to down the road? Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing that these athletes have so much exposure and they're looking for their image to sell their brand?
I think it's absolutely fantastic, and I wish I graduated a lot later. I graduated way too soon for this. I think it's amazing. You know, the professional sports, your people are paying money to come and watch you play. They're coming to watch you put on a show, represent your team, represent your city, represent the story that you may be carrying with you. You know, your background. So for you to say that can only happen when you're 22 years old or older, like, that's nonsense. People, they're just as good when they're in college. They're just as good when they're in high school. And, you know, the circulation of money is great. You know, I think that it should touch any player that's deserving of it. So, I mean, I absolutely love it. I follow for the first time in my life, I'm following colleges, because colleges have their own social media channels. And if you follow them, then they're going to post, you know, things about their team, videos about the places that they go, their practices, all that type of stuff. So, I mean, I love being a part of the game in that way. And it brings a different light to the teams. It makes them more personable. And I think that's what has led to a lot of new fans coming, especially to the women's basketball arena.
Right.
So,
well, but then that's really good. Now, the flip side, social media can also hurt your career or your future potentials. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, with everything good, there's always going to be some bad. I think as athletes, you just have to be mindful of that people are out there and they're trying to bring you down. Whereas beforehand, social media was just used kind of you could display your opinions about things and think nothing of it. Now, your opinions could hurt you, and it could hurt your money, right? So I think it's just a matter of, you have to always be mindful before you post and not do a lot of impulse type of posting where you may be out of your right mind, or, you know, you're overly emotional about something so that what you say can be taken out of context. One thing that has increased a lot are public apologies, where they have to kind of clean up, you know, things that they said, things that they did, things that they reacted, you know, and I think that comes with the territory.
Very good. Okay, it's time for a quick break, and when we return, Diana and I will discuss some solutions and some ideas on how to use social media to your advantage. Welcome back to the Are You Ready show on WDRB Media, the voice of the community. I am here with Diana, and we are talking about social media and how it affects athletes, good and bad. You know, Diana, March Madness has everyone talking about their favorite basketball teams right now. Social media is a buzz with everyone's bracket all busted up from upsets from day one. I guess a lot of people were not expecting that. The NCAA women's basketball teams have caused quite stir in the social media world for the last 2 years, I would say. I am happy that the women are finally getting the attention that they have always deserved. But not all attention is good for them. Some people just can't be happy for the ladies. I am thrilled about the attention that they are getting. Do you have
Yeah.
any comments on that?
Yeah, I mean, how far the women's game has come is just astounding. It makes me so proud to be a former athlete. Always an athlete, right? I'm always going to be an athlete. Social media, I think, is probably one of the biggest reasons why it has grown so fast. So in recent years, it has nothing to do with just better players. It's just more eyes on the players. People actually are invested in the player themselves.
Right.
They like the culture, they like the coach, and all of these things are being represented through social media. So they just people have more access to the game.
Okay. I watch a lot of sports, and I like when the players are working as a team, and I also like to see players acknowledged for what they contribute to the game. However, there are a lot of instances where the social media community and their chatter is always trying to pit players against each other. But what I've seen, a lot has to do with the maturity of the players, because they are able to handle a lot of this, what I just call unnecessary chatter going on in the social media world. If you can't handle the chatter, normally that's when it bothers you to a point where it affects your ability to play. And it also affects your relationship with your coach, with your team, and sometimes with your coaches. So I wish that all coaches would take a minute and explain to their players about this social media chatter and not to let it get to them. A lot of coaches have talked to their players, and a lot of coaches have now taken on the role of send it to me kind of attitude, and not stay away from my players. If you got something to say it to the coach.
Yeah, we've seen that, especially in the March Madness. On the women's side, the way that the media has tried to control a lot of the narratives is it doesn't favor the players always, right? Specifically with the Iowa and LSU, the way that they talk about the two, teams, it's almost like polar opposites. And it has nothing to do with the players.
Right.
This is all the media,
right?
And these are all the fans that are responding to the media. The media is able to control the narrative in many instances. So players, unfortunately, they have to deal with that.
Right.
And the only way that you can do that is you have to get professionally trained for this, media training.
Right.
Rachelle Logan Media gives you all of the training that athletes need. So every athlete, especially now, starting in elementary school, middle school, should be getting trained for this. They need to know that when they make it to high school, when they make it to college, professional, they're going to have to be able to handle negative media attention, negative fans, right? Also maintaining your positive image on your social media profiles.
Very true. Very true. And I think you mentioned to me about coaches also providing information on athletes on their rosters that's posted online.
Yeah, I mean, now you can go look up a roster of a team, and they're gonna have every single player's social media tags on right next to their name. That definitely was not something that I experienced when I was in college. They would just it would show your height, it would show what high school you went to and what state you were from, and that was it. But now the brand of that player is represented through their social media sites, and it's multiple. It's like Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or TikTok or something. And I think that's probably for companies that may want to look into this player a little bit more to see, are they worthy of being sponsored.
So a lot of the players are getting looked at before they are even contacted.
Absolutely.
By scouts and recruiters. So players, parents, coaches, if you're listening, make sure that you get your players some professional training on how to handle, how to answer questions to some of these social media posts, and also when and when not to respond. because most of the time the answers are on impulse and reaction. And guess what? You'll be the headline and not the person that asked the question. So it's best that you use common sense. Coaches, parents, talk to your players. And if you are a player and you're on social media, remember there are no rules that tells you what to do and what not to do. You need professional training. And I have probably close to 10 players in the WNBA and overseas that's playing professional basketball right now that I trained when they were in high school. They are doing amazing because they know the importance of their brand and they know that they're there to represent their teams. Social media allows you to do a lot of things, get a lot of endorsements, but stuff that you post when you were younger could easily be found. So it's best to start young. I have 6th and 7th grade students that I've taught about the importance of social media. And where are they now? D1 schools or either in the pros. Because they knew not to allow something that they say as a teenager or a tween to be a hindrance to a coach saying, well, I want this player. I don't know. Look at what he posted or what she posted every now and then.
It's also important to note that social media is not only going to be looked at for professional sports. Social media is going to be looked at for any professional job, any job, period. Obviously, I'm not in the WNBA. I did not play overseas, but I'm in a very successful career in IT right now. And my social media was still looked at by my future employers, my current employers. So even as a regular professional, your social media has to be professional enough. It has to represent you in a good light. The same types of downfalls of having a bad history of social media can impact you trying to get just a regular job. So always be mindful of that.
Right. And unfortunately, we are running out of time for this amazing topic. We will absolutely be continuing this. Thank you for watching my channel. Be sure to check out my website, RachelleLoganMedia.com. You can find the link in the description. I also have an online school teaching public speaking, etiquette, and much more. I also wrote multiple books for adults and children that will teach you to become the best version of yourself. Thank you and see you next time.